So this is going to be a little different for me. I'm going to be sitting and talking for blank minutes and blank seconds. I'm not really going to cut away to anything like happening. So the long and the short of it is, I posted a video about Terrence Howard on Joe Rogan's podcast. And when he came back to Joe Rogan's podcast, one YouTuber called Professor Dave made a video on him, slamming specifically Eric Weinstein for not being harsh enough to Terrence. So I'm here to say why I disagree about that. And here's the first clip.
Eric, for the most part, fails to explain precisely how idiotic they are in a way that the audience can understand. He does try to make it clear that most of what Terry says is wrong. It's simply that he remains unreasonably charitable because he places a higher premium on attracting credulous viewers to his own following than offering a firm voice of reason.
What is he doing back there? So I watched both episodes of Joe Rogan's podcast with Terrence Howard. 7 grueling hours of thoughtful content. And this is Dave's main point, if I had to summarize. You already did that. You summarized. And that's that Eric wasn't harsh enough towards Howard.
I thought that a lot of people just use their position of greater formal education in some of these areas to be jerks and to be really dismissive and pretend that they couldn't understand things that you were saying.
Now, to me, this clip says a lot about Eric. If you don't know who he is, he's a fringe scientist, doctorate in mathematics, who basically believes that all or most of the higher academia is lost and on the wrong path and potentially incorrect in many topics. One he says here is that string theory is just a wild story that physicists have been using to mislead the public for decades, going down the wrong trail of science. And so that sets the stage for why Eric wants to defend Terrence so badly. The summary of that is that he sees potential in Terrence's ideas, and he could see how the academia and how the public was treating Terrence's ideas.
This will set the tone for the conversation, that Eric is more offended by educated people correcting the insane gibberish that Terry spews than the actual insane gibberish that Terry spews. Tells you everything you need to know about who Eric is and his motivations for appearing on this program.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that he wasn't offended by them correcting him. He was offended by the berating that he got, kind of like from Dave, and then being unnecessarily angry or intentionally disrespectful. In contrast, I feel like my video about him pointed out the points where he was incorrect, but I didn't really attack his character. And even at the end, I didn't attack, but I explained how, in general, how dangerous just like wacky ideas can be on the internet now.
It's the personal attacks that are attached to the ideas by people that want to be taken seriously. It f***s the whole thing up. Because like either you're correct or you're incorrect. Tell me what you think is right.
And of course, all of these clowns pretend that the people who have been debunking Terry are just shouting insults and nothing else.
He didn't say that. He didn't say it was only insults. But the problem was the insults. They weren't necessary, especially for somebody that you claim is so far gone. If his points were so bad, you could explain why they're bad, and your points would stand on their own. No insults.
Instead of specifically explaining how all of his ideas are objectively wrong, using language a child could understand. This is textbook denial, and it's the only card they have. The well-deserved insults follow the debunking. They are not in place of it.
Yeah, you see, right there. Using language a child could understand is a dig at Terrence and everyone who doesn't agree with you.
I have the opportunity to strawman you if I want to, because what you just said sounded crazy.
What Terry said was objectively crazy, and Eric should be telling him that he's clueless.
And how did it go last time someone tried to tell you that you were clueless?
Mr. Farina!
Is anything that he's saying correct?
Terrence has several influences, which, again, I don't think it's clear to me.
This is why Eric does not belong here. The answer is no. He has no clue what he's talking about and just spews word salad that doesn't mean anything. The person in Eric's position is supposed to say no. Nothing he says is correct. End of story.
So this is kind of a bad example, mostly because Dave cut off Eric too soon. I do have more to say about this later, but again, you can't just yell at people if you actually want to change their mind and not just score online points and make them look like an idiot online. All right. Actually, that's it. That's pretty much it. Next.
Eric is pushing back on 1 × 1 = 2, and he is accurately asserting that Terry is playing word games. But Terry needs to be aggressively shown how he is wrong, and it needs to happen in a way that everyone listening can easily follow.
But why does it need to be aggressive?
Terry is trying to discuss decimal points in arithmetic, and he calls it the Dewey Decimal System. What more evidence do you need that Terry just repeats random terminology he's heard with no clue what it means? Why is nobody mocking him for saying Dewey Decimal System?
Well, number one, it doesn't look like anyone caught what he said. It's a live podcast. Sometimes you miss stuff. Because congenital doesn't mean genital.
He got it right.
That's what I'm saying. It's not what you think.
I'm eating too much. He got a
What? But also, it's already been explained that he's taught himself. Making fun of someone's terminology when they seem so open to learning, again, just feels unnecessarily antagonistic. Would you make fun of a kid who said wind because they've only ever read wind in a book?
It's probably just the wind.
The wind, dear.
Is that how you say that? I've only seen that word written.
Or would you calmly explain how that's not correct? Not really calling Terrence a child here, but more importantly, which version of the correction would get a good result?
Okay, it is not true that all energy is expressed in motion.
What energy is not expressed in motion?
Potential energy is not expressed in motion. If I have a weight on a spring, which is sort of the quintessential, people don't know this, but most of physics comes out.
You see, he corrects Terrence in a way that is good for the audience and Terrence, but because he's not yelling at him, you don't stop the video and say anything?
If you compress a spring, it has potential energy, and it is not moving. That's the point. Eric should have just said that repeatedly if necessary.
Again, just saying something over and over here. Repeating it to their face doesn't do anything to convince.
It's not a yes or no question.
It is a yes or no question. I asked you yes or no. It's very direct. Yes or no.
Okay, so what you were trying to do is you're trying to force me into a yes or no question when I can't even respond to the claims that you've made.
No, you're dancing around the question because you don't want to answer it because it's going to make you look bad.
So if the
Afghanistan was not patriotic.
Terry is wrong, and as happens repeatedly in this conversation, there is no resolution. Someone changes the subject 3 times in 10 seconds, and we are off to something else.
You just described a podcast. This isn't a formal debate.
It's 2 photons that were entangled, and it looks like a yin and yang. Have you seen this?
People always want to talk about faster than light communication by taking an entangled pair and saying if I do something in one place, I know what happens outside my light cone. So we can give meaning to these things. Then you have to say, well, it doesn't allow you to create information transfer faster than the speed of light. You have to be very careful and precise about it. But if you just start getting jiggy, then you start thinking.
You introduce the ether.
Thanks, sir.
So the ether.
This is most of the episode. Joe brings up something totally random. Eric kind of explains some aspect of it in a way that absolutely nobody listening will understand. Terry just says ether for absolutely no reason, and then Eric doesn't make fun of Terry for pretending he's not completely clueless.
I'm just going to keep saying the same thing. Making fun of somebody is not how you convince them in real life. Making fun of someone is how you get video views and get an audience on your side. Can you see the difference? And to me, it's the opposite. It doesn't seem like he's playing to the audience. It seems like he's there for Terrence, while you play to your audience. I'm in New Mexico now, at night. Don't ask why.
Why doesn't Eric ask him what the hell he means when he says that's a neutron? Higher pressure condition? Pressure of what? He has no idea what pressure means. He's saying absolutely nothing, and nobody is doing anything about it.
The problem, Terrence, is that you have a desire to go immediately towards what this means, right? And before you get to what it means, people don't even know what it is.
Eric knows that retaining a shred of credibility.
Probably not a good sign. There's a padlock on the TV. So you ask him to critique Terrence, and then you show him immediately critiquing him, and then started yelling about how because he critiqued him, he's just trying to save face. This happens a lot throughout this whole video.
I don't want to go there. The patents do not speak to what you think that they speak to.
Eric says Terry will never contribute to math, and Terry brings up his patents. Surprisingly, Eric burns Terry by taking a dump on his patents.
Even the phrasing that he uses to talk about what he wants Eric to do is AC. I just turned it off, now I don't know what to do. Even the phrasing he's using to tell him what he wants him to do is like rage baity internet speak, saying stuff like burns him and takes a dump on his patents. Who talks like that?
As far as I understand, some of his stuff is really, really good. Some of his stuff is offensive, and it's everything in between. I'm not gunning for you.
No, I don't take that offensively.
Okay.
I take it in the fact that you're here.
Okay, so this is a great example on how Eric's methods are working. He just called Terrence's ideas literally offensive. Sure, obfuscating the word wild and crazy, whatever. And Terrence still was not offended or defensive about it because he's already been shown, he learned that Eric is not just out to get him. And people need to be shown. You can't just tell them, I'm here for good reason. You gotta show them. And because he showed him, he's more open to actually changing his mind, which is what Dave claims to want.
Because it's supersymmetry.
Yeah.
They all fit
I want
together.
to see
That's
these
what
and
I'm
these
saying.
together.
That's where a physicist is supposed to say, "What the hell are you talking about? Stop rambling, Terry. Magnetic field. How is this a magnetic field? Where is it? From what? How? What is a magnetic field?"
I just think there's a really big difference between a science lesson video and a podcast where they smoke weed pretty often. It's morning now. I wanted you to be able to see outside the mountain. But, now you can't see me.
And to me, it's just like super cool stuff and then suddenly turns into horse.
Well, look at that. Maybe Eric has it in him after all. Electric field, magnetic field, vertices, vortices. It's all horse.
Even when he's doing what you say you want him to do, you're condescending about it.
And in Cartesian space, curvature is not allowed. There's no curvature that's allowed in Cartesian space.
That's wrong.
Really?
Yeah, because what you have, and by the way, this is a super subtle thing. We've only really known this for 50 years.
No, it's not a super subtle thing that...
So the next complaint isn't really all that important. But did you see how easily Terry said, really? Like how open he is already to accepting that he's wrong. Just in one sit down. When was the last time you sat down with somebody at a Thanksgiving dinner to explain that how they're wrong? And they said, oh, really? Like, that's what you get sometimes when you talk to a smart person. Like, they're people. Hi, I'm back here. Oh, I looked at the mic. Why did I look at the mic like it was the camera? Hey, I'm back here. Don't worry about it.
But Terry had no idea what Eric was talking about, jumped in and said the word Cartesian to sound intelligent, and then said something insanely stupid. The correct response is, why the hell are you saying there is no curvature in Cartesian space, and why would you say something so insanely stupid? Eric says he's wrong, but he calls the distinction subtle because he's leaving room for Terry to wiggle away unscathed. He wants to ramble about something esoteric to sound intelligent when he should be explaining middle school level math for Terry, for Joe, for the listeners, because that's what they need to learn.
Oh, I guess the next complaint actually did better. Oops. But Dave, do you ever get a good response in person when you do this? No. Even when they're not against you. Even someone like Aaron Ra, who tried to get this point to you in just a discussion podcast.
If you had shown the lie without attacking the person, you don't have to attack the person. Show how this is a lie in such a way that people realize this can't be right.
Not that.
And then they realize that guy is wrong. That's one way to put it. Yeah. Every time I come off stage, you said he was a stupid liar who lies because he's stupid. You know that doesn't convince anybody, right?
And you didn't listen there either. Look, if this is the only part of the video that people see, I want to make this point clear. If you don't talk to people like you're the smartest one in the room.
I think I said something like, as if any of you have a clue what we're talking about, because they don't. We were there talking about, I mean, it's not even the church people, it's even the science students. Like, we were talking about very esoteric stuff when we were talking about...
As though you people have any clue what any of us are talking about. I know about RNA. No, you don't. You have no clue what either of us are saying. Deal with it. None of you people know this research.
And they might actually accept you teaching them instead of just being defensive. Time is it? I think we'll go outside now. What? If I wanted to sit inside of the desk all day, I'd get an office job.
He doesn't mean anything. He just can't do basic math. So please teach him the basic math. That's the reason you're there, isn't it?
Somehow it looks worse in the daylight. Shade moves so fast. No! What if this is how I catch Bigfoot? Okay, but he's not there to teach a grown man basic maths. He's there to figure out if there's a diamond in the rough of Terrence's ideas.
Is your point that there's something special about the square root of 2?
I'm saying that...
Shown here by him actually asking questions and investigating his ideas. If you assume that someone knows nothing, you'll never know if that's true.
I have the wave conjugations that make up and prove the etheric nature, the etheric substance.
He's completely manic. Einstein was a moron and I'm so much smarter. That's what he's saying. He can't do second grade math, but he's smarter than Einstein.
Okay, this is a little more complicated because it's already known that Terrence has the Dunning-Kruger effect on him, but he's not saying that he's smarter than Einstein. The issue is he doesn't know what he doesn't know, Kruger, so he thinks his ideas are good because he doesn't know Einstein's ideas. It's different.
How can he be Jesus the Christ if he isn't smarter than Einstein? I'll give Eric some credit for using a harsher tone in this section, but it's just not enough to break through this egomaniacal defense system.
That's the thing, like, you claim he has this huge ego, but then you want someone to yell at him. Do you think someone with a big ego would listen to you if you yell at them? No!
Do you know what that R is? That's the foreplay, and then in the parentheses is where the stuff gets crazy.
Explain it.
That's enough of that. Terry has no idea what any of this means. He can't do middle school level physics, and he looks like a little kid for several minutes while Eric takes a pointless flex.
And the one time that Eric is actually about to explain something to Terrence that Terrence admits he doesn't know, you skip it. You say it's not worth your time.
of everything.
You map 4 different things to this. You say, 1, it's dark matter.
I said
because it's interstitial. Wait, 1 second.
Okay.
You say, 1, it's dark matter because it's interstitial. 2, you say it's hydrogen.
And do you see that? Do you see how Terrence shuts up sometimes and lets Eric tell him things? If Eric was berating him the whole time, like you wanted him to, Terrence wouldn't be respecting his words this highly. You see, this is the... Oh, God, the sun. When did that happen? Go away. Do I have to move the whole table? Sun, 15 degrees per hour. Sun. No, I didn't mean it. And no one noticed. So let me get it straight. The result you want is happening right in front of your face. Okay? Terrence shutting up and listening and letting Eric speak. And you don't say anything about that? You don't say anything wrong? What's going on there? How Terrence respects Eric's words so much because of how he's talking to him? Do you really think, Dave, please, I know you're not watching this, but do you really think, has it ever worked for you, yelling at them? Not once? Oh. Try to figure something else out.
What did I say that wasn't true though? That's what I'm. I
Well,
mean,
1 times 1 is not equal to 2. I'm angry at Joe because Joe should have pushed back on that. Joe is in awe.
The
of the way
calculator says 1 times 1 doesn't equal.
Platforming somebody who pretends 1 times 1 equals 2.
All right, so this is kind of like just my opinion. This isn't like based in exact evidence or whatever, but I've seen it happen, so that's where my opinion comes from. I disagree at a base level of not platforming bad ideas. I think we should, because if we don't give them people talk, right, outside the internet, once again, not being chronically online. If we don't give them a platform, how will people know they're bad ideas? Meaning, people will still have these ideas, but they'll just be underground, and so there won't be people like Dave, there won't be people like Simon Dan, there won't be people like Dr. Mike, who can point out these ideas that are online and say how they're bad. They'll just be ideas that people believe in with no form of negating. If Terrence was just sitting in the background talking about these ideas without this big, push towards the front of the media, people could back him up and listen to his ideas and not understand why they're not good because a commenter like Dave wouldn't make a video on them because they're in the background or not even online at all. And in fact, that's what happened. He's been talking about these ideas, Terrence, for like 15 years. And until Joe Rogan had him on his podcast, you didn't say 1 word about it. I didn't fact check this, but I don't think you made a single video on Terrence before he was on Joe Rogan. That doesn't give you a hint at how the reality and how things work?
You keep finding the space where we could come together, and you insist on teaching into it. But you have no idea when you're with a guy with an Italian last name and a shiny suit with a funny collar that you don't recognize. You got to stop.
Yeah, and I see.
A little dark, but even Eric.
Look how open Terry is, and you cut him off. You can see him seeing the error in how he was saying these things, teaching instead of sharing, and you cut it off. He was about to say it.
No, and I'm just saying, and I could be wrong.
You could be wrong. You are wrong, Terry. You're so wrong that the word wrong does not sufficiently describe your wrongness. You are, as they say, fractally wrong. You are wrong at every conceivable level of resolution.
Hey, Dave, what's something a real scientist would do? Admit they're wrong. Or admit when they could be wrong. This is like, I don't know, 2 hours in, and Terry is showing change. The thing you claim you want to see from him. But Eric isn't mean enough? So what? It doesn't matter. It's working. You just don't want it to work this way.
Lecturing me for 40 years about what they're going to do one day when they grow up. That everything is just a string. And just the way a violin can vibrate in different modes. All of the particles come from this excitation of the string. It's exactly how you sound with the linchpin. Now, string theory is not a terrible idea initially. It becomes a terrible idea when the string theorists suggest that nothing else has happened for 40 years and they've sought to kill off every single person who has pointed out that there are other ideas, and that they don't listen to their colleagues.
I feel the need to give more information on Eric than I already have, if you don't know who he is. He is a fringe scientist. Let's see his credentials here. He seems to say all academia is wrought with corruption and claim it doesn't let in any new ideas. And he's using Terrence as an example because they didn't let him bring out his ideas, even though they were bad ideas. And I don't agree with that, but none of that changes the work he's doing with Terrence, and how he's speaking to Terrence is working. So yeah, it feels like Dave doesn't even care about having Terrence see the errors of what he said. Only that everyone online just sees how dumb he is. Ha ha ha. It kind of feels like the difference between just teaching somebody versus shaming somebody. And you can either teach the individual and hope that they are open-minded enough to actually change their mind, or shame them, and I don't even know what you would expect from that. Maybe that the audience laughs at him, and so they stop listening to him. That was your cue? Maybe that the audience just laughs at him and just stops listening to him? Maybe?
Yo, you gotta go.
Right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Getting on the thing. The new room looks the same. It looks totally different. Idiot. Now, in Dave's video about the Weinstein brothers, you can see how similar Eric and Terrence are. I think an even bigger reason why Eric went to bat for Terrence more than just gaining audience. I think he legit thinks that Terrence has some potential in his ideas. Just like I really think that Eric thinks he, his brother, and his brother's wife all deserve Nobel Prizes. Go watch Dave's video. Because it's very rare that people see themselves as doing bad things. You know? No one sees themselves as the villain. But seriously, go watch Dave's other video about Eric and them. But yeah, you can see how Dave is still misled about how to get people to actually listen to what he's saying in terms of like criticism and changing their mind based off those criticisms. But if you go watch said video, link below, you'll also see how Eric is probably not the best mentor for Terrence and his ideas. You also see how bad of a mentor Eric is for anyone, especially someone as misguided as Terrence. What about Spooky? This is for a scary video essay. Is this a video essay? Is it Spooky? Oh, I should have closed my eyes first. I feel like it's kind of important to lay out how I'm not defending Eric and his other doings, or even really as a person. Just his ability to speak convincingly and apparently change someone's mind in a 4-hour time span. Terrence seemed to have some idea that he shouldn't be teaching and what he is wrong and right about. He didn't accept the 1 × 1 = 2 situation, but who would expect that? I guess the phrase would be defend the method, not the man. It's the best thing I can think of. Anyway, if you stuck around this long, I need you to subscribe. And I'm going to thank you for that. You see all these folders right here? These are all my ideas. God dang the light in my glasses. I want to get this channel monetized so I can do all these ideas and continue doing more. I have way more ideas than those folders. Whatever. They come and go. All I need is 1,000 subscribers. Come on. It's free. Where is it? Hold on, let me think. Is it right here or is it right here? Where's the subscribe button? Thanks if you hit those buttons, you know, subscribing and that. I feel like you watching the video to the end made it more big a deal than subscribing. But I still want to be monetized, which I need subscribers for. Check out the more experiment version of this video going after Terrence. And have a good day. It scared me because the red light's not on, but because I'm recording on my computer. No! Stop it. I don't need to take 2 on that. Stop it! Hello. I don't know where this is going. I'm not putting this in the video.
See, here's the issue with this shot now, is that super overblown. I do this. Oh my god. Yeah. This shot actually sucks, doesn't it?
Does my head look really small here? Look what I found. I was sitting outside in the gross. Let me get that up. Let me cover that up. Yes. I don't know what bird that was. I've never seen a white bird out here.